on Ruffing the Passer show that talks football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I'm your host, Sam Ruffing, and this is episode 93, and we had the AFC and NFC Championship games this past weekend, and at least one of them was good. The other one was very painful to watch. That one being the Ravens and Chiefs game, because the Ravens couldn't just beat the Chiefs. We now have to deal with them in the Super Bowl once again, for the fourth time in 5 years. The Ravens played such a sloppy game. It was ridiculous. I mean, the mistakes they were making, the play calling was all terrible. And the refs, while there was no one particular egregious call, there were a lot of bad calls in that game. I'm not going to lie. Chiefs got away with a heck of a lot, like tackling a receiver on that final drive for the Ravens, like just tackling him on the play. I don't care if the ball's in order to be catchable. You can't just tackle a guy. It should be illegal contact. Travis Kelce taunting everybody, and then somehow Kyle Van Noy gets the flag. I don't know. What else? Oh, there was that Isaiah Likely on the interception. He was pushed way out of the way. Gave him no chance to catch it. Again, this may not be necessarily the worst. There wasn't the worst reffing, but it was some bad reffing, let me tell you. That's not the only reason the Ravens lost. They were just so unbelievably sloppy in this game. The Ravens put up only 10 points against the Kansas City defense. They scored all of 3 points in the second half. It was just brutal to watch. Lamar Jackson went from looking like the MVP to looking like a bum. It was just, and I'm just going to say it. This is the second season that John Harbaugh has had Lamar Jackson in MVP form. And this is the second season in the playoffs where he's blown an easy game he should have won at home. He did in 2019 against the Titans. He's done it here against the Kansas City Chiefs with Lamar Jackson, who was in MVP form, looking absolutely terrible out there. And I'm just going to ask the question, how much time are we giving to John Harbaugh? I can understand the previous few seasons, keeping him around because, Lamar Jackson got hurt at the end of both years. But in 2020, but this past playoffs, when you had the best team we've had since the Super Bowl run with Joe Flacco, and now... and you lose once again at home, and your offense looks terrible. Can we ask some questions? I know that a lot of people are blaming Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator, for the Baltimore Ravens, and that's fair. His game plan was terrible. Why are you not running the ball more? I mean, the KC defense was 28th ranked against the rush this past season. Buffalo ran for 182 yards against them the previous week. You have Lamar Jackson, you have Gus Edwards, you have Justice Hill. Run the ball. It made no sense why they were completely abandoning their game plan. That's why the Bills lost last week. They abandoned their game plan right when it mattered most in the end. But, as bad as Todd Monken's play calling was, you know who has to sign off on that game plan, on these play calls? John Harbaugh. At least I think. If not, I'm going to be asking some questions. He sat through the team meetings with the offense. He was there when they're coming up with the game plan, or he came up with the game plan himself. To throw the ball when you have a quarterback who rushed for 800 yards this past year, who is known as being very dynamic. You have one of the best run games in the NFL. And you're going to throw the ball against KC's defense, which is elite against the pass this year? What are you doing? That doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I can understand changing up your game plan if you're trying to exploit a weakness, but the Chiefs' weakness is not against the pass. It's against the run, which Baltimore's strength is the run. John Harbaugh now, since 2012, is 4 playoff wins, maybe? I think it's around 4 playoff wins. 2014, he got 1. 2020, he got 1. 2020, he's had 3 playoff wins since that 2012 Super Bowl. He's had losing seasons. He has Lamar Jackson, who's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, and he can't create a good game plan around him. I don't get it. And no one acts like he should be on the hot seat. I think it might be time to at least look into it. I mean, with Mike Tomlin, obviously he's in a very similar situation. But he also has Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. Not Lamar Jackson. Lamar's sticking around. He's going to be your franchise quarterback for the next 5 seasons. Figure this out. I mean, I think that this season, heading into it, John Harbaugh should very much be on the hot seat and have his job questioned. Because Lamar's going to be around for a while. You can keep him. John Harbaugh, you can replace him. Obviously, you can't replace him with his brother Jim Harbaugh, but, you know, you get the point. There are other coaches out there, Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, guys who would love to have Lamar Jackson. And John Harbaugh's kind of wasting him. I'm just saying it might be time to look into firing John Harbaugh. I want to talk about the Chiefs now. May I just say, I despise them. I really don't like the Chiefs. I feel like they get away with a lot of penalties that were called in other teams, especially during that Baltimore game, that Cincinnati game last season when they're holding Trey Hendrickson on that final drive, the Super Bowl against the Eagles when they had some suspicious calls going their way. However, as much as I really dog on the Chiefs, I understand that Patrick Mahomes is easily the best quarterback in the NFL. That is no doubt. And Andy Reid is a great head coach. But the one thing that does make the Kansas City Chiefs extremely great, and I'll give them props for this, is they are so fundamentally sound. It's just kind of annoying, honestly. It's beautiful to watch if you're a Chiefs fan or just don't like the Ravens. But it's kind of annoying to watch. I mean, what I have seen Patrick Mahomes become since that 2021 AFC Championship game lost against the Cincinnati Bengals is just a completely different quarterback from what he was. You know, Mahomes early in his career, he was running around making scrambling plays, throwing 50-yard bombs to Tyreek Hill. It was spectacularly fun to watch, but it was often inconsistent in the playoffs, and he led to losses like the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the AFC Championship game where he tried to scramble instead of just taking the easy yards, the easy checkdowns. Same with the defense for the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they obviously had great players like Frank Clark, and Chris Jones, and L'Jarius Sneed, and all that, who were great, high-level talent guys who just bull-rushed you and got there, made spectacular plays. However, in the playoffs, they would often end up inconsistent, like losing to Tom Brady or losing to Joe Burrow in, big games. But over the past 2 seasons, they've really shorn it up. I mean, the defense has gotten a lot better. They're not allowing the massive plays like they used to. They don't allow crazy touchdowns. They don't allow you to just pick them apart. They're playing fundamentally sound, stay on your man football. Just don't give up the big play. And and when we're in the red zone and you have to make a play, make the dang play. Like they're also not the defense who just sits back and lets you pick them apart like on like final drives. Like, if you're going to beat them, you have to earn it, which is what a lot of teams did this year, like the Broncos, for example, when they forced 5 turnovers on Patrick Mahomes. You basically had to earn that. Same thing with the Chiefs. I mean, same thing with a lot of other teams like Buffalo in the regular season. They're so fundamentally sound, and Patrick Mahomes, man, he has just changed from the big play guy to taking the checkdowns, throwing it to the wide open man, throwing it to Kelsey. And it's helped his career in the postseason so much. I mean, last year, no interceptions, no sacks in the Super Bowl, limit mistakes, and they scored 38 points. And won. Sort of. No, they won. They won. Anyways, they won. And then in this past playoffs, he's had no interceptions whatsoever. Only been sacked in 1 game, and that was the Ravens game. He just protects the ball, and then when he needs to get a first down, he doesn't look for the end zone. He looks for the first down marker. Or if he needs to, like that final drive against Baltimore, he just slings it deep to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who's annoyingly open, and he catches it, because even though he didn't catch it earlier in the year, why couldn't you drop that one? I just don't know. But as much as I hate the Chiefs, because I do get a lot of calls going their way, I will admit their fundamentals are sound, and it is rather impressive. Congratulations to Andy Reid on being so just good at that. I want to move on to the Detroit Lions now in a slightly new segment called Take the Points. As you have seen in my intros, I always say, take the field goal, take the points, win the game. That's because it was from an episode where I discussed Brandon Staley going for it on 5 fourth downs against the Kansas City Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. About 3 of which he failed. Or maybe it was all 5 of his fourth downs he failed. And if he had just taken the field goal and taken the points, he would have won the game. This series of taking the points is obviously going to be recurring, I'm sure, because plenty of teams will go for it stupidly on 4th down from like ridiculous lengths, like 4th and 5, when you can just send out the field goal unit and take the field goal, take easy 3 points, and not lose by 3 in the end, because that's how it always seems to go. Now, obviously, I know that there are times when you should go on a 4th down, and not every field goal is necessarily going to make it, and there are times when I do support going for it on 4th down. However, the rate at which the NFL coaches do it is just absurd. Absolutely absurd. None more than Dan Campbell, who on 33% of his 4th down attempts goes for it. I mean, on his 4th down plays, goes for it. 33%, 1/3 of the time, on a play that, at best, gets you a 50% chance at a first down. It is absolutely mind-boggling, and obviously it has helped the Lions in some situations, like last week against Tampa when they went for it on 4th and goal and scored a touchdown, ended up winning by a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. But it was also backfired, like when he went for it against Green Bay multiple times on Thanksgiving and ended up losing horribly. It's a double-edged sword. Does it work? Does it not work? If it does work, hallelujah, it's amazing. You could potentially get a touchdown. If it doesn't, you just blown the chance at 3 points, and you'll likely lose the game because those 3 points you just did not take. And such is the case was on Sunday when the Detroit Lions held a 17-point lead over the San Francisco 49ers and lost 31-34, and had 2 opportunities to kick a field goal and win. Kick a field goal and potentially win the game. But no, they didn't, and it cost them. The first one was particularly egregious, I'd say, because you're up 17 points. It's 4th and 3. You're on like your own 28-yard line. Just kick a 40-yard field goal and go up. Okay, they're up 13. They're up 14 at the time. Kick a 40-yard field goal, go up 17, get the ball back to the Niners, and stop their momentum because they had also just scored a field goal previously. It's kind of like what you did against Denver in a way, when you scored a touchdown, when they scored a touchdown in the open half, but then you immediately answer with another touchdown. It's so simple and so easy. Just kick the ball through the uprights, take the 3 points, but no, they went for it. And obviously it was bad. It was a bad play of the receiver who just dropped it. But why on 4th and 3 when it's like, what, maybe 50% chance at best, 50% chance, are you going for it? Why are you going for it when you can take 3 points and go up by 17, 3 scores, instead of giving them a chance for some momentum and a potential comeback, which did happen? That's 3 points you lost off there. You ended up losing by, oh, what was it? 3. So if you take the field goal there, you have a chance to, I don't know, go into overtime. But no, they didn't. Fine. The next one was even more egregious. The 49ers had just taken a lead off of a Jake Moody field goal. They kicked the ball with Jake Moody, even though he's not a great kicker. But they take the points off of a Jake Moody field goal. They take the points. They go up 3 over the Detroit Lions. And on the ensuing drive, Detroit ends up with another 4th and 3. A perfect opportunity to kick a field goal and tie the game up, especially since you've blown a 17-point lead this half. Just something to settle you down because there's another quarter ahead of you, about 9 minutes left on the clock. You can breathe, relax, it's tied. If they score a touchdown, you can do so. If the Niners kick a field goal, you can do so, or take the lead with a field goal. That's simple. But no, you went for it on 4th down, and this time it was not dropped by Josh Reynolds. You just failed miserably on this play. Like, Jared Goff was scrambling to the right. No one was open. He tried to throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they failed, and they gave the 49ers the ball back, who, of course, scored and put away the game. Why are you going for it here? This makes no sense. Even if you got a touchdown, what's going to happen? You're up by 4, so the 49ers are forced to get a touchdown to take the lead? And then you don't have as much motivation when you get the ball back to score a touchdown because a field goal gets you 3 anyways? So you won't be throwing the ball, checking the ball as aggressively. You'll be conservative because you don't want to force a turnover. You don't want to have a turnover. It's so ridiculous. Just take the field goal and take the points, and you have just now lost 6 potential points. And would you look at that? The Detroit Lions lost by 3. If they had those 6 points, they would have won. I can't stand it when coaches and teams forego a basic 3 free points in favor of some nerd in an analytical room, in a computer room. Sorry, in the computer room. A nerd in the computer room who says, well, we have a 50% chance that it converts on 4th down. Yes, a 50% chance that doesn't take into account situations like end of game garbage time when teams go for it on 4th down and it doesn't really matter. The defense doesn't care that much. Those type of 4th downs. 4th downs where teams need to get a 4th down, which you're probably going to make more often than not because you need a first down. Or it doesn't take into account this fact that if you fail on 4th down, the momentum going the other way for teams like we just stopped the team on 4th down. They had a chance to take 3. They had a chance to continue a drive, but no, we stopped them. That's what I hate about the analytical take the field, don't go for it on 4th down because there's a 50-60% chance of it working. It doesn't take into account real game situations, the momentum, the vibe of the play. Now, that doesn't mean I absolutely hate going for it on 4th down. There are certainly times when you should. And it has helped out teams in the past, like Philadelphia in the Super Bowl against Tom Brady. They went for it on 4th down in that Philly special. It worked out. They went for it on 4th down almost all game. They had 1 punt. And it worked out and they won. Problem is, it can also backfire. Like, for Doug Peterson, funnily enough, in Jacksonville, when he decided to go for it on 4th down twice, and he ended up losing the division to the Colts because he didn't beat the Titans. Lost the division to the Texans, excuse me. One thing that also bugs me, and it's not like, one other example of where I think teams should have actually gone for it on 4th down was the Lions in this game. I mean, at the end of the second half, they had the ball on the 1-yard line, 4th down. I'd actually go for it. You had all the momentum going your way. If you don't get it, Niners on the 1-yard line, they'll try to run out the clock, but maybe if you're lucky, Aiden Hutchinson breaks through and gets a safety. I'm just saying. It's not like 4th down conversions are the worst thing in the world, but they are gone. But people go for them way, way too much, and it just costs them. Just take the points, take 3, and you find yourself winning a lot more games. Again, not every time, but you'll win a lot more games. Speaking of the victors of that game, the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy, I would say slightly stunned the world by beating the Detroit Lions. I mean, especially after that first half. Down 17, looking like it's going to be Lions versus Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'll admit, I did pick the Lions, and there are a lot of people who have not been Brock Purdy fans. They say he's overrated, he's a system quarterback. But there are also others who think he's the next great quarterback. And I just got to say, I was somewhere in the middle. I thought he was a franchise guy. I don't think he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He definitely benefits from a lot of weapons. However, after Sunday's game, I've been converted to Brock Purdyism. I mean, I did not expect the 49ers to come back from 17 down to win that game. Not one bit. It was truly impressive, Especially since if you look at Kyle Shanahan's record heading into the fourth quarter, when he's down at least a touchdown, it ain't pretty. He's won maybe 2 games, and that's generous. But he stayed poised in the pocket in the late, needing to score. He found his targets. He got Christian McCaffrey involved. Brock Purdy played extremely well. He played with heart. He was making some insane scrambles. And it's not like he's a particularly talented quarterback at anything like, arm strength. He's not got the biggest arm. He's not got the best mobility, though he does have good mobility. He's kind of like Russell Wilson. Not as good an arm as Russell Wilson, but kind of like Russell Wilson. Just kind of scrambles, makes a play happen if something breaks down. But one thing Brock Purdy has that you can just tell that he's just got the heart. In the fourth quarter, he's not going to give up. He's not going to give up. He's going to try and win the game. He believes he can win the game, and you just don't see that from a lot of quarterbacks. Like Jimmy Garoppolo was a guy who's played very similarly to Brock Purdy. He won a lot of games, made a lot of touchdowns, but when it mattered most, he couldn't quite deliver. Brock Purdy's like that, except he can and has proven that he can deliver. And he did it this past game, and I am so impressed. And it was really, really awesome to see him in the trophy ceremony when they're handing him the, it was after the game, they handed him the, I don't even know what it's called, the George Halas Trophy, and he's just so happy. It's like, dang, I can't help but feel good for him. Like, this means a lot to him. He was the last overall pick in the draft, and he fought through everything, fought for a starting spot, and when he got it, he didn't let go. Like, there are a lot of quarterbacks who, if they had his terrible 3-game stretch this year, would not bounce back. But he's bounced back. He's made it to the Super Bowl. It's going to be interesting to see him against the Kansas City Chiefs. I hope the 49ers win. I'm just going to say it now. But congrats to Brock Purdy. I think they found their franchise guy. Although the way the media portrays it, if he loses the Super Bowl, he's obviously a bum and should never start in the NFL again. He should be relegated to the CFL. That's just how it works, I guess. But if he wins, he's the greatest quarterback. He's an okay starting franchise quarterback. Don't know why it's the case, but whatever. Thank you very much for watching Ruffing the Passer. Shows talk football, miscellaneous stuff, and mostly football. I thank you so much. I don't know what's going on. Please hit the subscribe button if you like my content. Hit the bell to stay notified when all uploads are uploaded. Hit that like button, share it with your friends and family, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.